So Mitch he's a daddy of three, best-selling author, a serial entrepreneur, international renowned business speaker. You have your own blog and radio station, syndicated radio station.
Radio show.
I
don't want to be an owner of a station.
No. Oh, yeah. I don't blame you. Right. And, but one thing I love when I was reading about you and, and just kind of doing some research, and was so happy that you said, and great and blessed that you said yes to come on to this conference. So thank you so much. Because again, I know how valuable your time is in that, but
my pleasure.
You have owned a lot of different types of businesses. He's owned restaurants, catering, a cribbage board company.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to talk about that. Photography, a limousine business. A good thing that you're not in limousine business now. I have a friend that owns VIP limo here in Utah. Because he's been around for so many years in that, he's still in business, right. But pretty much all of the other limos are out of business. So sad with everything. Hot tub rental. So many different kinds of types of business in that. So tell me, when did you first become a business owner? At the age of 3?
No, but two things. Number one, I noticed that the gym had that cold, freezing background in a Zoom room. So I wanted to kind of just force the issue a little bit. The daffodils are coming up here in Oregon. It's a rainy day, but the daffodils are about that far up, which means spring is around the corner. And the other reason I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt is I believe that every day can be a Saturday with the right attitude and the right perspective. Yes. If you think about the way we feel on Saturday morning, we as well, because on Sunday night you got to go to bed early, you got school, you got work, you got all those things, but Saturday is a unique day. And so if you think that every day can be a Saturday in your life, regardless of whether you are an entrepreneur or an employee or a mom or a dad, it changes the way that you approach the other 6 days of the week. So that's why I'm doing this. And Jim, I see that you changed your background a little bit there.
I think it's got
anyway, when did I get the bug? I think it was probably around the 4th grade when everyone was selling lemonade. I mean, I think raise your hand or let me see in the comments, how many people have had a lemonade business when you were a kid, right? It's just something that I think kids do because it's cheap for mom and dad to get you into business, buy some lemonade, some sugar, a cup, and put a little table out, right? Everyone else was selling it for $0.25 back in those days. I won't tell you what year it was, but for 25 cents. I sold mine for 50 cents, but I gave you a free cookie. And I had a little table there with a tablecloth and a couple of chairs. And I played Dodger games. I lived in Southern California. So I had the Dodger game playing. So I created this nice little ambiance, this nice experience. And guess who was the busiest on Saturdays? It was me, even though I was charging twice as much. And so it wasn't an official business, but I made some good money on the weekends. And then I think in 7th grade, I did a used bicycle part business. And then in college, my first real business was called Left of Center. Today, that has different meanings, but back then, I'm a left-handed person. I write left-handed, I eat left-handed, and I wanted to come up with unique and distinctive products for left-handed people, which used to be about 15%. That number is dropping. I'm the only one in my family, my wife's side or my side, that's left-handed. So I don't know anybody else that's left-handed at all, if I think about it. So I came up with a couple unique ideas. One was a pen and pencil set, gold, beautiful wooden case, coffee cup, a gold foil coffee cup. And I like this saying right there. Can you see it? That's a good way to live your life, right? Fish more, work less, fish more. And anyway, you probably think, well, those aren't left-handed products. Those are just generic products, which that was kind of the point of the business. I wanted to create beautiful, almost like a gag gift, but that left-handed pen and pencil set, left-handed coffee cup, a left-handed paperweight with gold foil with their name. Anyway, it did very, very well. And it was just a college business. I sold it after a couple of years, and that became my fund for the next real business that I started. And it just kind of continued to go on until 2019 when I had 5 companies that I owned. But I got bored, believe it or not. with 3 kids and 5 businesses and my books and everything, I got bored. And so I had heard that the San Francisco Giants were looking for a president of a local affiliate, a single A affiliate of one of the baseball teams. So I applied for the job. I got it. And so for a year, I was the president of a minor league baseball team. And after a year, COVID hit. If you're a baseball fan, you know what happened to baseball. They shut down. And the team that I was the president of was one of the 42 teams that recently got eliminated by Major League Baseball as far as being an actual affiliate. So I stepped down in March, right when pandemic was hitting, to spend time with my companies and to homeschool my kids. I have a 15-year-old, 13-year-old, and a 6-year-old, and I'm 58. I'll be 59 later this month. So I waited. I did my business thing early on. I worked those 80-hour weeks. And then about 20 years ago, I said, you know what, it's just not worth working that many hours. And so I came up with what I call the 24/7 mentality. And when you think of 24/7, you think of 20. For the last 20 to 25 years, that's been my shining beacon on the hill. And am I successful all the time? Absolutely not. There's weeks I put in massive hours. But that's always my goal, is to how can I work smarter? How can I be more efficient? How can I offload the 80% of my crap that don't bring me the most of my results? How can I just make sure that my time, which to all you guys watching right now, that's the most valuable asset you have. I don't care if you're a craftsman in wood or a photographer, or if you are a CPA, I don't care what you are. The most valuable thing that you have in your life is your time. And you only have 86,400 seconds today. And when it's gone, it's gone. When you go to bed tonight, that's one less day that you can make a difference in the world and to the people that mean the most to you. So that's kind of how I have set my life up. And I do today, I own 4 companies. This last year, I've written 3 books. I got one coming out here in about a month. So I just make sure that the things that I do are high value items. And it's been an entrepreneurial bug I've had my whole life. So the only paycheck that I've drawn that I haven't written the check for is when I was president of that minor league affiliate baseball team.
Incredible. So if you could, I mean, with everything that you've done and all the, that you've learned, the question I asked everybody is, if you could go back to when you first started into business, what is the one thing that you would have told yourself?
Well, earlier in my career, I was one of those 60 to 80, 90-hour a week work guys. I mean, the definition of success, I think, that is taught today in business schools and in the entrepreneurial space is you have to work hard and you have to work a lot and you have to be immersed. Talking about social media, it is so easy, right? Right now, if you get a notification, what happens? You don't just continue to watch the Zoom meeting. You go, excuse me. Okay, it's my mom's telling me that she's available at 12:30 instead of 1. Okay, I've had people come to job interviews, and when their pocket goes, they reach for their pocket, right? We hear that noise, and we think that we have to. It's like a Pez cocaine candy dispenser where, and it is, your brain releases a little bit of dopamine, and you get addicted to that. So the social network platforms, they're trying to get your attention. And once they get your attention, they pass.
So creating this 24/7.
24/7, yep.
Yeah, 24/7. How, I mean, because going from, like you say, like the 80-hour weeks, that programming to 24/7, that for me is mind-blowing anyway. Right? I'm kind of on that treadmill of, okay, I got to do this. And, both of my kids are, out of the house, been out for a long time. And so my business kind of becomes my entertainment in essence as well. Right. And so it's like, well, I'm home, I'm working, and you're never not away from your business if you have a home-based business. So give us some steps, maybe, if you will, or some secrets on how you did that. It's just like, wow.
Well, to fully answer the question that you asked before, what I would have done differently is I would have had the work smart, not necessarily hard mantra as part of my fiber early on, because it wasn't early on. I mean, I did very well and made money and lived a life without a wife and kids and traveled the world and did all that. But I was working hard. And then actually the quick story about why that changed is my stepfather, who loved my mom more than anything in the world. They didn't make a lot of money between the two of them. They were just trying to put food on our table. They saved money for about 2 or 3 years to buy a boat, not a new boat, just a boat that we can go sailing on Hayden Lake in Lake Coeur d'Alene. I'm sorry, in North Idaho. It's called Hayden Lake. Well, they bought this beautiful old 30-year-old fiber form boat that was beautiful. She ran, it was clunky, but we all got on there, my brother and my sister and I, on a Sunday afternoon, and we're driving on this beautiful water. It's sunshiny, it's warm. We bought my stepdad a captain's hat, and he's on top, just looking very proud. He says, "Honey, I wonder what the poor folk are doing today." My mom, bless her heart, she looks at him and says, "Babe, we are the poor folk." And there was silence, and he said, "Not today. Not today." And at that moment, that singular moment, we all were the richest people in the world, and it had nothing to do with how much money was in our bank accounts. It really didn't. So what was the question again? Because I bounced back to the question before.
Was just what are those, what are the steps that it took to get
the steps, the steps for 24/7. Yeah. Well, the first thing you have to realize is that your time is the most valuable asset that you have. That's number one. Number two is you need to kind of set yourself up what your priorities are, what your lifestyle priorities are. And I always tell people, you need to design your life first. Where do you want to live? Where are you going to go on vacation? What are your hobbies? What about your kids? What activities are you going to do? Design that perfect lifestyle first, and then reverse engineer to come up with what your business blueprint is going to be, whatever that blueprint is going to be. Whether you have one employee, yourself, or you have 1,000 employees, that part doesn't matter. What matters to me is you build that lifestyle pyramid first. And I think today, a lot of the gurus, so-called gurus out there are teaching the wrong pyramid. They're teaching, okay, build your business, sacrifice everything else, sacrifice your friends and your family. And they may not say those words, but the way that business is being taught today, you can't do anything else but forego your family and your personal time. So I just say, no. You need to flip that pyramid around, build that lifestyle first, make sure that is figured out, and then work backwards and say, okay, now how am I going to have to build my business in order for me to be successful with my lifetime goals? So you need to sit down and break everything down. I believe that systems are what cause us to be inefficient. Systems in answering the phone, systems in our social media, systems in a million things, right? So this is a perfect time of year, Lisa, for you to do this convention. What we need to do is look at all the systems that we have, not just in our life, but also our businesses. Break the systems down, figure out what's working, what's not, what's efficient, what's not, and then rebuild those systems one at a time with fewer moving pieces. I mean, it's very, very simple. And, I have a desk. I'm at a home office right now. I have warehouses, I have employees, I have stuff, but my home base is right here. My 2 feet are on the ground right here. And everything that I do is built from this little, right here where I'm sitting. Everything that happens is because of what happens and what I think of right here in this little space. So my 6-year-old daughter is going to kindergarten about 30 feet from here in the other room. And to me, that's what my lifestyle is all about. And when I design my business blueprints, I always consider, is this going to help me attain my personal and professional goals? And if it's not, I have no problem saying no. I say no to a lot of conventions, a lot of virtual events. I just don't have the time. And I have to be very careful with how I choose to spend the time. And as does everybody else that's watching this program right now. You have to be aware that your time is really important. And when your time on this earth is done, they're not going to remember what you did. They're going to remember how you made people feel, how you added value to the people in your life that mean the most. And so that's kind of the steps in a little bit of a nutshell, Lisa.
Yes. So with doing that, I mean, like we talk about different systems and that, and we get lost in, like when you're talking about Facebook and, and phones and so forth. So what are a couple of your systems that you've implemented in your own business?
That's a great question. As far as with social media, I have 3 things that I do. Number one, when I wake up in the morning, those first 2 hours are my time. Doesn't belong to any social media platform, doesn't belong to email. It doesn't belong to the TV where I'm, the world is telling me what they think I need to know. Those first 2 hours are Mitch's time. And I read books, I listen to podcasts, I'll do my writing. If I've got a new writing project, like right now I do, I spend an hour every single morning immersed. And when I say immersed, there's no distractions. There's no kids when I get up. There's no wife. There's no phone calls. There's just me and my thoughts, and pen and paper, a good cup of coffee. You always got to have that good cup of coffee, right? And that's all there is. And so my creative time is that first little bit of time. And then from there, I'll go ahead and check email, and I'll look at the social media. I have a person that handles most of that for me. I don't do hardly any of that. They might post and say, hey, this is me, but it's not. That's one of the things that I've identified as something I don't have to do. I'll give you another example. In the world of professional photography, one of the things that most photographers can do is retouch. They take a digital file, they can blend the pores and make it look beautiful and do the highlights and everything and make you look gorgeous, right? They've made the mistake of thinking just because they know how to retouch, they think they should. Well, there's a time pyramid that I have. Number one is the $15 to $20 an hour tasks. Answering the phone, greeting customers as they come in, if you have a retail brick and mortar, making social media posts, things like that. To me, those are $15 to $20 an hour posts or activities. If you ask a photographer, are they willing to work for 15 bucks an hour? Everyone would say, well, heck no. I'm a professional photographer, right? I've been trained, I'm certified, I'm credentialed, I got these awards. Well, if they're spending their time doing $15 to $20 an hour work, they're cutting themselves very, very short. The second category of time value is $50 an hour. And to me, that's like the day-to-day management. That's what a manager will do, a general manager, an assistant manager. They'll handle the day-to-day, reaching the sales objectives, restocking inventory, doing like middle range stuff. And then there's $500 an hour time value, which is where everybody on this call needs to be spending their time. Designing the vision for the business. Where do I want to be in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years down the road? And then delegating everything else. Delegating that 80 or 90%. You know, there's a thing called Pareto's principle, 80-20. 80% of our results come from 20% of the things that we do. And you can actually make specific examples of this. 80% of your dollars that revenue that you generate comes from 20% of your customers. Right? I don't care what business you're in, that's a true number. And if you look at it, say, okay, I have 174 customers, and yeah, these top 22 bring me 80% of my results. And you're going to find, as you start breaking things down, you're going to start finding that number pretty accurate compared to other things that you'll see out there. So that 80-20 principle is always in my brain. I think it's more like a 90-10. 10% of my time brings me 90% of my results. And I try to get that 90% and delegate it to other people, virtual assistants, real assistants. The other thing I try to do is if I don't need it to build my business, ultimate goals personally, I eliminate lots of stuff because it's easy to get that white noise, right? It's just white noise all the time. Things to do is to sit there and thumb through the paper, look at the ads, look at the articles, and guess what you do? You'd actually read the articles. You'd read the letters to the editor. And now it's all right here. It's soup. We got to get done. Okay, no. Let's go to a different platform. Let me check CNN. Okay, let me go check Fox News. Okay, let me go check Facebook. Our attention span is just like that. And we just have to realize about social media. It does that to us. And so we need to kind of control that. And then I put it in what I call a pod. My social media time is about half an hour a day, and it's in a pod. It's actually written in my schedule book. And that 30 minutes, that's all that I do is social media. And I do nothing else. But then the rest of the day, I'm not doing anything on social media, on any of the platforms. Somebody else does that for me. And it's just about those systems, making sure that what you are doing is the best for your personal life and your professional life.
So when you were, getting into, like, I love that pyramid and delegating, and, when looking for those assistants, you're just getting started and so forth. What did you find, and maybe some mistakes that you wish you wouldn't have made?
Well, at the beginning, when you are the chief bottle washer and you're everything, making all the posts and doing the blogs and all that kind of stuff, you are the one. I get that. But today, getting a freelancer is pretty darn inexpensive. I mean, there's platforms like Fiverr.com, which started because it was $5. Everything gets you $5. Well, there's some incredible, I mean, incredible freelancers all around the world, besides the United States, that do phenomenal work. And they can do everything from managing social media to helping you grow social media channels, to designing that trifold brochure that you want to design, to helping you design a business card. And instead of you spending your time, which you should be doing that kind of stuff anyway, unless that's what you're trained to do, you need to offload that. Whether it be a virtual reality person or someone locally, maybe there's local high school kids, local colleges, they're always looking for credit. They're always looking for work within the business community to do, and they don't charge you. I had a couple of film projects last year, and I got a local university to give me 3 or 4 students from their film department. They came, they filmed it, they edited it, they did the graphics, they did everything. It was training for them. It cost me nothing. The only thing I did is said, hey, this project was put together by these guys, and they got a lot more business because I recommended them. So it's just very important that you make sure that what you are doing, if you're a landscaper, you shouldn't be doing the landscaping. You should be going look for that next customer. If you are a cabinet maker, you shouldn't necessarily spend all your time making a cabinet, because if you do that, guess what? Your business is going to die. It's a hobby if all you're doing is making it for your own self. And I heard someone earlier talk about the difference between a hobby and a business. From an IRS standpoint, you can't deduct anything from a hobby, right? It's just money that you're spending. And as soon as you make it official and you start saving receipts, you start claiming on taxes, you have to have an official entity, whether it be a sole proprietorship or a corporation or whatever other form you decide to do for IRS. That's basically the difference. But from a mental standpoint, the difference is, okay, if I'm a businessman now and I'm an entrepreneur and I'm going to try to make money at home or online, I got to go build my business. I got to go look for ways to bring revenue in the front door. And then you become a salesperson, right? A rule of thumb on sales: if you don't like to sell, I understand. I totally get that. But there's tons of resources that teach you how to be a great salesperson. Either learn how to do it and do it very well, or find someone that can. End of discussion. Sales is the most important part of your business. And without it, there is no business. It becomes, again, a hobby. So those are a few steps for it. I could talk for 3 hours on each of these subjects, so I'm trying to keep my answers short.
No, hey, we got that, and I know how valuable. So tell me a little bit about the sign behind you that's called Business Edge.
Oh, yeah. Business Edge Radio. So about 10 or 12 years ago, I had, I used to travel around the world doing seminars and workshops for business people and entrepreneurs. And one of my sponsors was Fuji. At the time, Fuji was involved in a lot of different things, but they were involved in the professional photography industry. And they said, hey, we want you to host a podcast. It's like, okay, what's a podcast was my first question. And for the next 10 years, it became just this thing that I was going to get to, right? You know, every year I do my list of New Year's resolutions, just like most of you do, but I actually stick to them. It's an important document to me. It's a living, breathing document. And I massage it. I change it as the year goes on. But it was on my back burner list of New Year's resolutions. Well, pandemic hits. We all have a few minutes on our hands, right? I finally had time to launch this thing. And basically, it's a podcast about business and life. I don't just sit there and talk about sales and marketing and branding and all those things, which I love to talk about, but I also do book reviews on books that I think are valuable, not just business books, but I did one on happiness by a guy named Matthew Picard, who's a monk. And he talks about how to find happiness in whatever you do in life. I also do, at the end of every episode, I do a recipe. Everything from how to make the perfect cup of coffee to how to make pineapple upside down cake to beef stroganoff. It's just a different recipe, some from my family, some from listeners that send me in the recipes. But it's just about business and life. It's kind of fun. About a month after I launched it in the spring, I got a call from a syndicator in Chicago saying, this needs to be on the radio stations, like terrestrial radio that you and I listen to, right? And so starting this month in January, you're going to be able to find this radio, maybe not in your, but they're thinking by the end of this year, we should be on 40 to 50 affiliates across the United States. So you can either listen to it as a podcast on any platform that you consume, wherever you consume your podcast, it's there now, or listen to it live on a Saturday or Sunday in your local radio station. So that's what Business Edge Radio. And they also have a side company, a side companion product called Business Edge Minute. It's just 60 seconds. 60 seconds. Here's 3 things that you can do to grow your email database. Here's 3 things you can do to make sure your brand isn't broken. Here's 3 things you can do to make sure that you're spending your time in the smartest way possible. 60 seconds in and out. And you can find those on the platform as well. There's either 60-minute episodes where I also interview thought leaders. In fact, this last week, I interviewed David Meerman Scott, who wrote a book called Fanocracy. It was an international bestseller, and I interviewed him, and he's going to be on the show this coming Saturday. So I invite you guys to check it out on wherever you consume your podcast. Yeah. So that's what BER is.
So how can we support you? How can we help get you syndicated in our area?
Call your local radio station, and it's typically for like talk radio. You're not going to find this show on, here's a top 40 from 1979. You're not going to find the Casey Kasem stations picking us up. It's talk radio. It can be conservative, it can be liberal. It doesn't matter. But people that like to listen to talk will listen to this kind of show. And it's not a talk radio show. It's a teach radio show. It's not just me sitting with the open mic with no idea of what I'm talking about. And I don't take calls from the audience. Every hour, every minute is meticulously planned out. It's kind of scripted, and then I make it up as I go. But I want to make sure that we're teaching. It's a teach show. So we do the book review, we do the recipe, I do a monologue that kind of dives into a subject. We do the interview with someone. I talk about side hustles. What can you do to make some side money? And what's the steps you got to take in order to make money on the side? It's just kind of a a lot faster paced than a lot of the shows out there. But you can call your local AM radio station and say, hey, Business Edge Radio, the name of the company that carries us is syndication.net. Syndication.net. That's who they would get the show from, the local radio station.
Great.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you can also go to your local app, either be a Google Play app or your Apple app, and you can download a free app for Business Edge Radio. It costs you nothing. You can do that right now. Just go there, download it, and then all the new episodes come up. There's PDFs on there. You can contact the show. You can call the show from there. You can watch videos. We actually have videos of those 60-second shows I was telling you about. You can actually go to the app and view all that.
Okay, great. And then again, and I would invite everyone that is listening, because all of our speakers have been so generous with their time and talent. And like you say, you can't get back that time, is go to Google reviews and give them a nice review and just a like and follow.
Well, I'm bad, Jim. You can slap my hand 20 times. Google My Business is something I've never looked into for anything. So probably smart for me to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got your offering, and I love this, is a nice gift. Right. It's a copy of your Unleashed Entrepreneur, a kick-ass guide to harnessing your inner ninja, working less and designing your perfect lifestyle. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, that's like, wow.
Yeah, I wrote this, I think it published in 2018. And it's just kind of a blueprint for people that are either in business or want to be in business or thinking about it. And it talks about building that lifestyle first and then reverse engineering to get your business blueprint. And it's a pretty short book. It's like a 2.5 hour read. There's also an audio book that you can get. I'm not giving that away for free, but when you go to Lisa, I think it's just powermarketing101.com. So P as in Paul, powermarketing101.com/free book. That's it. That's the URL. And then you can just download the PDF version. But if you're a listener like I am, I like to read, but I also like to listen. You can go to the Audible store on Amazon, and you can get the Audible version there. The other thing that I'm giving away is this is a book called High Voltage Branding. Go from ordinary to extraordinary. And I don't care what business you're doing. I don't care what you do. You got to be aware of how to make sure your brand is alive and well in the world, right? So in here it talks about personal branding, because a lot of brands are built around individuals. When I say the word Microsoft, who do you think of? Bill Gates. When I think of Tesla, Elon Musk. I think of Apple, Steve Jobs, right? So if you have a business where you are the brand, it's important that you're taking care of your brand with meticulous fine-tooth comb, because everything that happens in the consumer's mind in that first 5 seconds usually is there in 5 years from now. So that first impression, from your business card, the way you talk, the way you walk, the way you dress, the way you answer your voicemail, the way your website looks, all those things go into what people's perceived value of you is. And either you have a high perceived value or low perceived value. And if it's too low and you're asking a price up here, it's a disconnect, and they're not going to be your customer. If your perceived value is exactly the same, you might make some sales, but maybe not too many. If your perceived value is here and the price that you're asking for a product or a service is here, that's where the magic happens. That's the secret sauce right there. So your only goal today should be, how can I pull nuggets out of each of these speakers, and how can I position myself so that my perceived value is higher than the price that I'm asking? And I think that's a basic question that anyone can ask, regardless of what you do for a living.
Absolutely. I love this. I love it. You and so much good knowledge, so much great nuggets, and thank you for your generous.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
With everything that's going on, I mean, with the 2020, with the, and the businesses are just upside down in so many areas, and it's right now, we bought an RV, my husband and I, because he suffers with, I know, right?
24/7, here you come.
He suffers from pulmonary fibrosis. And so it's like, he's not going to be getting on a plane anytime soon, just that, with the COVID. And so we did that because both of our kids are back east. But what's interesting is the RV industry was having a killer market, for 20, they were over the top. And so it were over 90% on that, because everybody then had to turn to rentals. Cars, when nobody was buying new cars, all of a sudden, all of your mechanics were doing incredible jobs. And so with everything that you've seen in all of the industries and everything that you've been in that, what do you take from what's happening, and what, if it's a secret ball,
Hold on, I got it right over here.
I know, right? If we could have all known about Zoom, and invested, what do you think on business?
Well, two thoughts. Number one, I think one day when we talk about things that are old-fashioned, I hope that the term is going to be, oh, that is so 2020, because I want to leave that so far in our rearview mirror, right? We just forget about it. But that's just so 2020, Lisa.
Yeah.
But as far as the businesses that I've been in contact with, which every day I'm in touch with lots of different businesses in many industries, the ones that had their ducks in a row are the ones that are doing better than others. And I say that with some reservation, because I know tons of people in the restaurant world. In fact, I own a catering company. Last year, we did 575. We were voted the Pacific Northwest Caterer of the Year. We do work for corporations from Nike to Intel to, big stuff, right? In the whole Northwest, we got voted #1. This year, $32,000. So over $500,000 we lost in revenue. Wow. We're still alive. We're still well. We're okay. We're still picking up enough jobs here and there. But I was able to, we can scale, but we also can operate lean. There's a book called The Lean Startup by Eric Rice. You can get it on Amazon, The Lean Startup. It teaches you the mentality of, okay, you don't have to have all these expenses and be all these different tentacles. Start lean, grow it, scale it, but make sure that you do have your ducks in a row before you go out there to the world. So unfortunately, in the restaurant industry, they can't do anything. Even the best operators are closing down left and right. But what it's allowed us to do is analyze those systems that I was talking about before. What can I do better? What am I doing terribly? Can I get rid of that part of my business? And here's the important question. What can I do to reinvent the way that I do business, or can I pivot? I know people that had, they used to have a sewing shop. They used to make hats, like for sports hats over in Salem, Oregon. They pivoted and they started making masks and did better in 2020 than they ever had. And they've been in business like 17 years. They pivoted. They said, okay, we're going to reinvent the way we do business. We're going to completely get a different customer now. So they had to completely come up with a new way of marketing. They couldn't just market to the leagues and the teams and the league directors. They had to market to consumers like you and I. It's a whole different world. So people that are ready to evaluate their systems and build new systems that are innovative, that have a tinge of reinvention in there, and then the ones that are able to pivot. You know, the pivot of my speaking. You know, I'm not doing 15 or 20 conventions this year in person or last year. That's a lot of income. You know, there's a couple bucks that I get every time I go and speak at a convention. Well, that just went to zero. And so the pivot is, okay, I'm going to write books. So I actually wrote, well, the high voltage one I told you about. This is like the flagship book for the last 15 years of my life. It's called The Business Basics Boot Camp, the ultimate crash course. And it covers everything from lifestyle design to sales, marketing, branding, social media, selling. It covers all what I call the 7 tentacles of business. And so this is what I pivoted to, is doing this along with workshops and online course and things like that. But you can go to Amazon right now and get this one, the Business Basics Boot Camp. And it's good for just about anybody in any industry. So I've had to pivot my businesses myself. I also had a artisan coffee roasting company that we used to sell in bulk to drive-through espressos. Oh. Well, for a few months there, drive-through espressos were shut in the state of Oregon. And so I reinvented, and we started shipping to consumers across the United States. You can go to the website now and buy 2 bags and get 1 free. And it's to Joe in Maine and Bob in Texas. And we had to pivot as well. So if you're willing to pivot, if you're not set in your ways of, I have to make this yard art design that I've had for 15 years, I got to do the same thing over and over again. If you're willing to reinvent and consider doing things a different way, you are better positioned for success in 2021 and beyond.
Yeah. I like that word. In fact, I posted on Facebook that my word for 2020 was pivot, and 2021 is rejuvenation. I think that people are like, you know, it's kind of that you go through, like in winter, you know, everything kind of dies off, and then those tulips, like you're talking about, they're starting to sprout, you know, spring is coming. I think that that's the same thing, is people are looking at, if you will, dead wood in business. You know, what hasn't been working, let's shave this off, let's get rid of this, and what has been working. And so that's one thing that I'm so happy about, is that there's going to be a lot of new businesses pop up.
So many. There's more new businesses right now in the United States popping up, more people filing for their federal tax ID numbers and registering DBAs with their state, more right now than in the history of our country. Yeah. That means more people are saying, hey, I'm going to take my little hobby and I'm going to turn it into either a side hustle, or they're just jumping in with both feet and starting the business, and that becomes their way of living. So it's exciting for me that I've been making a living in the space for 20, 25 years to see so many people risking it and going out there, getting their feet wet, and say, you know what? I have the spirit inside of me. I got this entrepreneurial flame. It's been burning me for years. I'm going to see if I can give my wings some air so I can fly, give this idea some flight time. And it's fun for me to watch, because I've been waiting a long time for something like this to happen.
Yeah. Well, and I think that also is that people have always looked at entrepreneurs as risk takers, and in aspects that there are, you know, but I think the riskier is depending on that job that is going to, because all of a sudden you go to work. In fact, there is and it was a club here in Utah called Club 90, and the server, she's been there for 40 years, and it's kind of, you know, I mean, and she's been doing it just because it's her, you know, during the day. And we would go there for a networking luncheon, and we got to talk with her, and they completely closed down until the 5 o'clock. And like she said, you know, I mean, she's been there, and all of a sudden they just told her, okay, we no longer have an afternoon shift. And, you know, and it wasn't her main income, because she'd been old enough to retire, but it was just her way of connecting with the public.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, you know, all of a sudden it was like, you know, we're no longer in business, or we no longer, can support the employees, or you have to go home.
Right.
And I think that shook up a lot of people that was feeling secure in 9 to 5. I work hard, I get a paycheck, and I'm okay.
Yeah, and I know people that still have their jobs. In fact, they're making more money right now. Here's the other thing that's happened when so many people are now working remotely. My sister-in-law works for Nike. She's a graphic designer, one of the top ones, and she's now working from home. Same. Like, identify, because you broke up a second. How do you identify the 80-20? Was that the question?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there's a couple things you can do. Sit down and, well, give me an example. What's the business that you're in?
Sorry, Anne does CPA. So she's
CPA.
Yeah.
Well, Anne, I bet you if you were to look at your client list, I'll bet anything that your top 20% of your people are bringing you the bulk of your results. And maybe it's not exactly 80-20, but you're going to find that the top tier of your customers bring you most of your revenues. So I would do two things. Number one, I'd figure out a way to make sure that top 20% are getting the best service possible. I call it 6-star service. We live in a world of 5-star, right? 5 is the best you can give. I want you to figure out what can you do better? What can you do a little bit extra to make sure that those 20% of people are so much a fan of you that they will never go anywhere else? And there's a difference between a customer and a fan. A customer is someone that gives you money. A fan is someone that believes in you so much that they'll send their relatives and their family and their friends and coworkers to you because they believe in your brand so much. So you need to figure out ways that you can make sure that they are being well taken care of, not just average, but above average, okay? And number two, look at the other 80% of the people. What can you do to make sure that those people are being well taken care of? Because you want to make those 80% part of your 20%, right? And the next year, maybe you bring up all those people up to the top tier. You'll have more people down here. So it's a never-ending cycle, never-ending effort on your part. But something else you can do is come up with a referral program for that top 20. Do you have any kind of referral program that people send you new clients?
Not at this moment. Sorry, she's frozen. We're both here together, so she's on my computer.
Oh, okay. Okay. Have you ever done any kind of referral program?
Nope, she hasn't.
Well, you know what? I'm excited to tell you this is January. Guess what I'm doing today? Schedule C. And I got a bunch of them to fill out. I got 9 websites and the 9 different entities that I work with. So this is the time of year right now you can get a hold of your 100% of your client list and say, we are looking to expand. We've appreciated your business. And then come up with some dangling carrots. Maybe it's a credit on towards their taxes. Maybe you give them a $100 gift card towards Amazon. Maybe you do a Starbucks coffee card. Maybe you do a special VIP for all your clients to come to where they get coffee.
Hit the recording. Yes.
You don't have to worry about trying to convince them that you're good. You don't have to tell them what products you offer and what services you provide. They come to you already sold. So it should be one of your goals to figure out a way to get them to give you a referral. If you can just get every one of those people to give you one referral, that's it, just one. Guess what? You just doubled your business. And you get to now figure out a way to work less so you can take more time off, hire a new CPA, et cetera, et cetera. And the cycle begins.
I love that. I love that.
And I'm really excited about this. It's called Customer Service is Dead. Delivering 6-star service in a 1-star world. It's all about how can you take better care of your customers, not just meet their needs, but exceed their needs. It's available for pre-order right now on Amazon. It comes out later this month, but it's going to be something that anyone that has a touch point of a customer at any point during the relationship, whether it be on the phone, in person, on the back end, it doesn't matter. If you have any contact with that consumer, that customer, that client, this is going to be a book that will benefit you. And it's just available for pre-order right now as a Kindle. The paperback will come out in about 3 weeks. And I encourage you to download that, give it as a gift. It's going to be a great gift book. So Thanks
Where do
so
we,
much, Lisa. You're doing a
where
good job.
can we pre-order? Where can we
Oh,
pre-order?
you go to Amazon. Just go to Amazon. Yeah, just put
click
Mitche
on
Graf,
pre-order.
Mitch with an E, Lisa.
Yes, yes, I got that now.
Mitchegraf. And yeah, I have some recipe books there. I got a coffee book because I used to be in the coffee industry. Used to have a chain of drive-thrus back in the 90s before it was a thing. Before Starbucks had one on every corner, I had a chain of drive-thrus. So thank you so much and good luck the rest of today, okay?
Thank you, everyone. And we're going to be back at the